All right, young scholars, apologies for that, as the BITM 2701 class was taking their Excel exam. If any of you had me for 2701, you know what a pain that was. So did Luca or John sneak in? No? All right, so tonight is our second portion of our JavaScript lecture. So just like the first three, or what was it, two, we had two classes of HTML, two of CSS. And after the second one, there were homeworks. So you remember from the second CSS course that it was kind of shorter, and I gave you guys time to do your homework in class. It'll be the same setup tonight. Kyle, did I teach you any of this 2 weeks ago? Or am I like Billy? Yeah, you taught me this stuff. The JavaScript is different from Java. It's interpreted, not compiled. It's more relaxed with the syntax rules. And there are key constructs involved with the function. Main points, so we can keep them inside web pages. It works with HTML and CSS. I told you 2 weeks ago, right, Mark, that if we use actual Java inside of a website, it has to be used using something called Java server pages. I went through that, right? So that's why we use JavaScript instead of Java, because you have to name a file with a .jsp instead of a .html when you use Java inside of a actual file. Okay, you just sent it? Did you send it to me or the business writing guy? There it is. So many screens up, I don't even know where. Did I teach this last week or am I Billy? Do you all remember, instead of just, style, like with the CSS, we now use script tag for all things JavaScript? We put them right inside the HTML file 2 weeks ago, right? We did everything internal. Okay, so this is the external link to when you put it inside, like you would do a .css file for cascading style sheets. Here you do a .js. I'm pretty sure I went over that 2 weeks ago, right? Common uses of JavaScript. Nicole, why do we want to use JavaScript? To form validation. Do you even know what that means? What's form validation? To validate what I'm doing. What's a form, Nicole? A document. What is it in web? Contains questions and answers. Let me see if I have a form somewhere. So this is a form. How do I validate that? How is this validated? If I hit submit and it actually does something, right? So let's say my name, my email, Talir hates Ben Simmons. It worked, right? Because it actually submitted something. Malik sent his email in. Let's check. So what did you think that meant, Nicole? For validate. What did you think initially before I pulled up the actual forms? It can to some degree. What is it? Does anybody know what embellishment means? Oh, none of you had this class last fall with Joe. Well, what does it mean in sports? Like when flopping?
Dramatizing.
Yeah, that's basically what it means. So page embellishments, makes it kind of look better. Like Matt's laptop. All the stickers, makes it look nicer. Well, what was the example I gave, Damon? Like HTML is like the house, and CSS is like the paint, and JavaScript is like the oven. And didn't I give like an example like that? We went over some basic math calculations that JavaScript can do, right? A couple weeks ago with that iterator. What does dynamic content manipulation mean? Matt? Yeah. I'm trying to find her terrible website. No. So this is the example I gave last fall for a terrible website. This woman actually taught this class at Monmouth University for like the last 35 years before they forced her to retire in May. So something stupid like this, like a mailbox with a letter going in, you could tell it's like something that was built like 23 years ago when the, online was, just becoming a thing. So this is what you call a static website. It's not really anything anybody would use as an example. Dynamic is sites that you could actually do stuff on. Like you go on ESPN and you may go on there like 6 times a day. And what happens? Yeah, there's a whole big new, like breaking news. Brady and Giselle got divorced because he won't retire. Like it changes constantly. There's on clicks, like I showed you 2 weeks ago, you could use. And the best part is all of this works in Max. You could include Google Maps and all different applications you can throw in together. Ethan emailed his exam. Let's see if it's working. Okay, Nicole, does this work? It worked in the WYSIWYG? Doing it now. We're going to add two numbers together, just like we kind of did last week. And what happens? Who can look at that code and tell me why it gives you a pop-up? Damon? Yep. So number one equals prompt, number two equals prompt. Those prompts pop up. At least it should when you run it. Yep. Rob, give us our first number. Eagle score from last night, what was it, 26? You want to do those as the numbers? So what's 26 plus 17? 43? Is that what it tells us? Is that right? Sum equals 43? Alert gives us our printout. Sum equals plus sum. Sum equals parse int. What does parse int mean from what we just did? Any guesses? Kyle? Yep. That's our input for the num1 prompt. That's the input for the num2 prompt. What would this be in Python? Just print, right? And Java, it's print line or print ln or print out. No, I think print out was C++. So what do you notice that I have in here that I don't need? Yeah, but I was getting at, paragraph here. We don't even have any text to write, so there's no point in having the paragraph. But I put it there for what point, Nicole? What's missing? What did I not include? Why would I want style? We're doing JavaScript. We don't have the head. The head tag isn't there. Do you remember from what I said a couple weeks ago with HTML versus XHTML? So with HTML, you can kind of screw up here and there, and the web browser will try and interpret what you're doing. Like Emily and somebody else had an issue where we did the drop down, like two of them, was it you, Rob? Two of them were like off because you didn't have enough divs. When you are doing XHTML, and might be next week, might be 2 weeks. When I go over that, XHTML is very strict. If you put your little like doc HTML at the top, that you're using XHTML and make it a mistake, the whole thing's shot when you open it. It's not going to work properly. No. Remember I told you guys, you have to have all your script inside of the header. I didn't have it. So I was pointing out that with HTML, like set up regular HTML, it'll understand, oh, this belongs in the header, even though they don't have a header. Whereas with XHTML, if you screwed up like that, no dice. It's not going to work. The dots? No, the dots would be fine. But if you, I have any, let's see how I have doc type HTML. If you put doc type HXTML or XHTML rather, it tells the web browser, this is XHTML. the real strict HTML. So if you don't have the header in for XHTML, the whole page isn't going to work because it doesn't know what it is. So what is this? Example 2 browser events. What is this going to do? I basically say on the one hand, what is it going to do? Emily, what is it going to do? When you did it, it just gave you 6 dots. Okay, this is what we're going to do. Open a new WYSIWYG. And click where it says tutorials. Like delete everything after w3schools.com. Click tutorials, learn JavaScript. And then scroll down and where it says example, try it yourself. And now we'll open the JavaScript WYSIWYG. And then I'm assuming if you run it and you click the 3 dots, stuff will actually happen. Did that work, Mark? Yeah. Right after my first JavaScript where it says try it yourself. Did it work in the HTML WYSIWYG or no? Okay. So you click the right mouse, it gives you that message. You click the right mouse button. When you click the left, for some reason, it still gives me the right mouse button. Why not? So this is just to show you pop-ups because you might go to a website and yeah, we'll see momentarily. We're going to make our own kind of basic. We're just going to have you click and open your own. Like when you log into the Seton Hall Pirate Net, right? And it gives you like a, what is that thing called? It's like text, whatever, Duo Mobile. And it has the pop-up. That's basically what this is. And you have to like put in your, I think it's every 7 days now, because they were worried about Russia hacking us. So what are other types of events? Mike's wife. What's it say? So on key press is similar to a mouse event. Like you press the letter M on your keyboard, something might happen. What do you think onload is, Dom? Something that'll happen when you load the page. So some people might have it set up. Who's a music artist you kids like these days? Post Malone. Is he the one who's in the Cheetos commercials? He like wipes crap on his shirt? I don't think so. It might not be Cheetos. Rob, do you know what I'm talking about? The commercial with the guy who like eats Doritos or Cheetos or something and wipes it on his shirt? Is that Post Malone? No? He's in some like chip commercial. He's in another one too, where he like turns into a werewolf. No, I know the difference between Post Malone and Pete Davidson. It might be a Doritos commercial then. No, he like wipes stuff on his shirt, and there's another one where he like turns into like a werewolf or something. Yeah, that's it. That's Post Malone. Okay, so I at least know who he is. Are they set up as percentages? Okay. So they're just what the thing was from the instructions, so. Okay. So that's what an onload is. What do you think an on mouse move is? When you move your mouse, yeah, so Lucas, what's something you might do on your computer? Do your homework. So like say you were in Word and you're typing up I don't know, name a class you got. So say you're writing up a financial strategy for financial strategy, like a conclusion paragraph or something. And when you mouse over like text, you know, you might get like that pop up, like, oh, change the text size and whatever. That would kind of be considered an on mouse move. Other examples would be like somebody, you know, moves their mouse over to the left. Nowadays, we have everything built into these laptops, so it's not like an actual mouse, which would have like a wheel on it, and you'd like wheel it down and on mouse move, the page moves. What do you think on unload means? Who's ever gone to these websites where they're like, oh, you can't do something unless you do this survey? What happens when you click out of the survey? Yeah, it stops you from doing the thing you want to do. That would be considered an unload. For the ones you did, so this one is, this should be a payment function. And then this one is just going to be whatever you get there times 12. That should be a VLOOKUP. And cost is going to be all the things that were revenues. Or no, cost is going to be all the cost, but profit is going to be revenue minus cost. And then the buyer, not the instructions basically tell you how to do that. So try and get that to me by like 8:30. What the hell is this? You need a write function to test for New Jersey and New York. And then the second two parts are your true or your false. So this should be write equals, or write B3, comma 2 equals New Jersey, write B3, comma 2 equals New York. And then your true or false for each of them. See why I asked you why you wanted to teach tonight, Nicole? Are you going to that thing Mark sent me about tomorrow night? And you don't need extra credit, right? Yeah, you do. Well, for this class, maybe. So what is all this talk about? Who's heard of page manipulation? Oh, what, do you remember from like 2 weeks ago when we could have changed like first name and last name? That's called page manipulation. Damon, Kyle, did Billy teach you about DOM? No? This might be confusing, but when we're talking about web stuff, DOM means document object model. Anybody ever hear of that before? So that's what all that structure is, like HTML, head, body. That's the document object model. Like we're going from one section to the next. So within these sections, you're going to have different stuff you can put in. So what does create element mean? What do you think that's going to do, Mark? Yeah, we could create like first name, last name. Other Mark, what do you think create text node does? Yeah, it gives us text. It adds something. Bill, what does it, append child and remove child mean? And don't refer to the Star Wars fella. So what's a child? Yeah, so in web, you'll see this a lot when you do stuff with WordPress. You're going to have a parent page. So like my blog, for example, all of these links are currently parents. You might have children under them. So like project website options, if I was a, course guy, I might have like random children, like drop down from it. Instead of just having it all listed here, you just click it, click the link, go to everything you want to go to. So like if I had a page up here, like, and I don't know, would you guys think this website blog would look better if I had a, recent instruction or something like that, like recent course meetings, something like that? We could do all this like 10/17, 10/3, 9/26, and all of them could be children under that. So this way you could just go, oh, okay, examples, click that. And it shows you all of the children underneath that. Kyle, did any of that make sense at all? As he shakes his head no. Yeah, yeah. Emily, did that make sense? No? Let's go to ESPN. Our famed example for web class. So what are parents here? Why does it bring up the college football page automatically? Want to remind me that my Spartans actually won for once on Saturday? What would be parents here? NFL's a parent. What else is a parent? That could be a parent. So what are children? Everything underneath the parent. So if I click NFL, home, scores, schedules, standings, stats, teams, depth charts, daily lines, tickets, those are all children. The parent is NFL, yes. And the children are everything underneath it. So what would be the Emily? Yep. Yep. So ESPN Plus, watch, listen, fantasy. All of the headers here for the, when you click the ellipse there, would all be parents. So standings would be a children or a child. What happens? We'll give Rob his team props. The only undefeated team in football. We'll go there. What would be the children here? Schedule, that's the only child. Stats, roster, depth chart, injuries, transactions. And technically even like the box scores would be children. So like we clicked to show that Rob's Eagles, euthanized the Cowgirls last night. Don't remind you? Well, Cooper Rush had to lose eventually. And you can often tell when something is a child, because here it has game. That would probably be the parent. Then game ID would be the child in this instance. So does that make more sense, Emily? Yes. Who hasn't been called on yet? Where's the other Robert? Robert, what does document get element? It's going to find that. Yep. So here we use T1 as the example. So anywhere it lists a T1, it's going to find that element by ID. The ID is its identification. Who else haven't I called? Kyle's been involved a lot today. Nick, what is document.create element? LI mean? You're Nick, right? Do you remember what LI is? Emily's like, don't call on me, don't call on me. Austin, do you remember what? You remember OL and UL? List, yep. So with that JavaScript commands, we're creating a new list. What about the next one? It should be obvious from what I just explained. Billy. We're creating new text and adding it in. Emily, we'll give you this one. List.append child, new item. What are we doing now? Within a list. So we may have a list already established, And we're adding a child to it. So like I just showed you with the NFL, so they may add, they don't have gambling directly on ESPN, right? They just have the lines and maybe a couple links for promos to like DraftKings or whatever. So let's say they decide to add like a gambling link in there. That's how they would do it. What about new item dot append child? Nicole, you always have the answers. What's the answer? That last part, a new item added to the append child. Yep. It adds new text to the child. Are you guessing? Why are you guessing? You're not sure. In this instance, yes, we're adding new text to the child. That could be any kind of element. We could have like new list, new, I don't know, image, video. So why does document object model matter? What's the point? Like I told you, it's that little structure. HTML, head, to put the script or the style in the head. Body. Is there a difference between your body and head, Pat? What's the difference? No, you're like physical. Is there a difference between your body and your head, right? Your head hears, sees, listens. You know, a lot of times you talk more than you listen, like me, but what does your body do? Whatever your brain tells it to do, right? Well, in some people's cases. But it gives a hierarchy of where everything is also. So we have properties and methods within JavaScript. Did Billy teach you anything about methods? Yeah. What did he tell you about methods? You must have missed that class. So what do you think the method document.write, document.refer will do? Matt?
The bullet points document write, it would take, so inside the parentheses is the reference document, and the command document.write would basically like spit out whatever's on that document.
Yeah, it's like when you open a Word file and type something in it and close it out, what happens? Does the screen tell you to like go to the bathroom? No. It says like, oh, do you want to save your changes? That's in essence what this method will do. Okay, we just rewrote whatever's in our file. Now, there's document object model and there's browser object model. We're not going to get into this because it's kind of a pain because most of you are using Google Chrome and Safari, right? So those are almost identical in structure. But with browser object model, you'd have to set different things up to where the HTML, the JavaScript, the CSS is interpreted differently with different browsers. So you said you actually use Microsoft Edge. I hate it. I won't use it. I literally uninstall it from my computers. It's such a pain. Unfortunately, this one I can't because they don't let us. But Yeah, so Edge will interpret it differently than Firefox and Google Chrome. So like, let's just go to my website. So this might be interpreted differently than on Firefox and Edge, and I think they discontinued Internet Explorer, right? Safari. I gave you guys the example. Let me see if it actually works. I gave you this example of mobile-friendly websites. How at Monmouth they were too stupid to understand that. So here's the faculty directory of my friends at Monmouth University. Look familiar? Told you. He took over from the dog groomer that decided not to work after 3 years. So when you pull this up on your phone, notice these phone numbers? When you pull it on your phone and you try to click, let's say you tried to click on Billy's page here. So when I click on his page on a computer, well, his example isn't going to work, but my father's or my friend's father's best friend Gil there, for example, you click his profile on a computer, it just goes to his profile. If you were to click on that on your phone, it wants you to call that phone number that's listed under him, because they don't have it set up properly. So, and I think I told you guys to check this a while back, like the first class maybe. It'll try and call him at his office, that 732-571, because they don't have it set up to be interpreted properly on a mobile device. So that's why browser object model is important, but you know, since we're going to all be doing this on your laptops, not so important. What is the browser on my iPhone called? It's just Safari. Interesting. Mike's wife, pull that up on your computer and see if it does that on your computer. What are you pulling up? Monmouth.edu/department-of CSS, this page. Did he not cut his hair like that when you guys had him? No? Yeah. I don't know, he just started growing his hair out all of a sudden. You can't type that fast. I'm sorry, my dear. So the browser object model basically makes it so that you would add in JavaScript code. Okay, this is how we want Firefox to interpret this. This is how we want Edge to interpret this. This is how we want Safari to interpret this. So like when Nicole goes on her Microsoft Edge that I hate, won't use. Like if you go to like the Devil's website, for example, it may look different than when you pull it up in Google Chrome, because they may not have settings set up. It may just not bother to them. They don't care. Like, yeah, you got it up. Now, when you click like Gil or Ralph's page, does it actually go to their profile, or does it pop up the like, oh, want to call them at their office? Okay, so it's probably just mobile on the phone that it does that. Because on my phone, when I pull that up, it wants to call them instead of actually going to their profile. So in Python, you all had Python, right? Or just a couple of you? You didn't have Python, Evan? Are you going to take it with Rosenthal? Whoever teaches it? I'm hoping I get a chance to teach it in the spring. What? Do you know? They haven't even asked us about spring yet. They're just worried about winter right now. I think the management department is the only department that has like their stuff together and knows what everybody's teaching in the spring, but you know, like I said, probably around like Halloween, like 2 weeks, I might know. Yeah, so this is kind of big in a lot of the computer science classes, like whether it's Python, Java. Did Bill teach this? The Hello World? So so basically the most common thing in any programming language is Hello World, and it's just a printout. So this is how you would do it in JavaScript. What is this going to do, Damon? Take a guess. It's going to print comma, and then what? Just that? That's all it did? What else did you notice? What's it set up as? Header 1. So we could use JavaScript and CSS together to make things look good, better, whatever. So Philip may like the color purple, the color orange, whatever, and may want to put the CSS in to make that header 1 orange, purple, whatever. What does this do? Because it does it all. Who's seen Jurassic Park? None of you have seen Jurassic, oh, just a couple of you. You remember when Samuel L. Jackson is looking through Newman's lines of codes? Whatever this is, did it all. You know, you remember that part? No? How do you not remember that part? I hope there's a clip of it online. Whatever. I can't find it on the first page. But there's a scene where Newman basically, is the programmer for Jurassic Park and makes it so that everything shuts down so he can steal all of the DNA to give it to Dotson, who, if you've seen the most recent Jurassic Park, is like the competitor, tries to screw everything up. And so he's going through the lines of code one by one and finds the last thing that Newman did. He's like, oh, whatever this is, did it all. That's what the document.write is doing here. If we take that out, there's nothing. All we have here is a page with a title, Hello World Example. Give us something to write, Mark.
For the header?
Yeah, anything. Giants are 5-1. So what's going to come up, Nicole? Giants are 5-1. Cowgirls are 4-2. Right? They're 4-2. Only your teams. My team lost to the Falcons yesterday. My Yankees have lost to a team twice that has one major league hitter on the team. So everybody sees that all this document.write does is gets rid of everything. Billy, why do we want to change H1 to? Maybe H3, P, what do we want? Paragraph, different header, what do you want to do? Yeah, well, what should we change it to? H3? Now what happens? It's going to be smaller, yep. So anything within those quotes there, we can change. So we'll make Rob happy again. Talir hates Ben Simmons. Glad he's on the Nets. Are you friends with Talir? Well, Talir said this like 18 times in the last like 3 years. Even when Ben Simmons was actually playing well. So here are some of the properties or methods associated with number. So what the heck does this mean? Largest possible number, roughly 10,308. What does that mean, Mark? The largest possible number you can have in JavaScript is approximately 10 to the 308th power. Lots of zeros there, right? And the opposite, how come negative 324? How come we can have a much bigger lower number? Nicole? Multiple negative times a negative can give you a positive. It's screwy SQL stuff that I don't think we'll get into. But it has to do with there's more negative numbers available on a computer based on its bytes and bits than there are positives. So what's .NAN? Not a number. What does that mean? So what happened? Okay. And another example could be Billy, Nicole, Patrick, Mike's wife. When you had 2701, what happened when you put in a function wrong? You got like error name. What about in VBA? Did it give you an error when you messed anything up? Or it just didn't work? You've all had like a math class where you learned infinity too, right? So in calculus, there's negative infinity and positive infinity. You can get them with JavaScript using those methods as well. Whoa, did Billy teach you this? No? Yeah. From string to int, fixed number to an exponent. So what's the difference? Well, obviously strings are text, but when you use base, you can convert a number to a string. What's fixed? What's a fixed thing in like real life? Something that doesn't change, at least at that moment. So like your age, the mileage on your car, it takes a mile for it to change, right? IsNaN express, what would that method do? If it's not a number, you'll get true for the expression. If it is a number, you'll get false. And there's a bunch more in that table, like absolute, pi, square root, round, rando, power, logarithm that, we're not going to use. But they're good to know. Did Billy teach you this, like match and replace and search, where you could actually find text? So these are methods you could use within JavaScript. So you know how in Word you just do Control F and you type in something to find it? You could use a JavaScript command like these to find and replace, find something, but it's match instead of find. Who remembers concat from 2701? Did I teach that in 3727 too? Yeah. Who remembers what it is? Yeah. For the most part, strings you're combining. So Nicole, how do you deal with old browsers? Did you like all these Microsoft products? Yeah. You all notice that? When we did the printout, and I had script type equals text, text slash JavaScript. So we gotta tell the browsers like we did with our external linking. Like we tell it that it's a style sheet. We tell it that it's JavaScript. Remember? Hopefully. What do you mean? Oh, we're only doing this because we may have a browser that's stupid. Like Nicole likes to use Microsoft Edge. It may not be smart enough because it's a Microsoft product to understand that, hey, this is JavaScript. And this is the way we would put it in as what? What is that, Nicole? What is that? It's a comment in HTML. Why are there two slashes? And make sure it's a comment. And it's different ways based on how many rows of comments you might have, which I'm pretty sure I touched on 2 weeks ago. Okay, what's exception handling? Who hasn't been called? Nico, exception handling, what is that? Did you really send it to me? What's exception handling? There it is. Okay, what's an exception? You don't know how to put it in words. Give me an example then. Do you follow baseball at all? No? Who follows baseball? Nobody, just Emily? Damon, kind of, maybe? So what's the exception that's been put in baseball that a man friend decided to cancel? Raheel, you know? Yes, in computers, yes. I'm talking about the shift, yes. They're getting rid of the shift next year. So that was kind of an exception in baseball. What's another thing they're doing now, Damon? Pitch clock. And the other stupid thing they did that doesn't make sense, that idiot Joe Girardi caused them to do. A pitcher has to throw to at least 3 batters. This Joe Girardi would used to mix and match, and Scott Proctor would pitch like 107 games a year and only have like 40 innings. No, the pitch clock and getting rid of the shift, okay. Maybe Brian McCann will come back and actually hit 300 again, because the shift ended his career basically. So what is throwing a exception? What does that mean in computer terms? I give you an example here. What does the catch do? What does the catch do? Emily, you're a catcher, right? Isn't that what you played? What happens when a batter swings on a strike 3 and you caught the ball? You throw it to first. If they fouled it off and you caught it, it's a strikeout. What happens if they foul it off and you drop it? If it's a foul ball and you drop it? They swung and foul tipped it into your glove, you dropped it. You're preoccupied with trying to do your project in this class. They get another chance, right? So that's what a catch is doing. It's looking for something. Like, you know, I joke like Mike and Mike's wife, we might be like trying to catch, where's that engagement ring? Are they really engaged yet? Or are they gonna wait till they're done with my worthless behind and graduate? Did Billy have like self-deprecating humor like this? No. He just made fun of everything else, right? Like you said, the first class, he's like, this is what Rosenthal wants me to teach. This is not right. I'm going to teach whatever I want. So what is this example here on slide 17 doing? What are we catching? What are we looking for? We're trying to test to see if there's a test 1. If not, then what happens? It checks for a test 2. And then it just looks for E, whatever E may be. So if E is equal to test 1, okay, it's done. If it's equal to test 2, okay, it's done. Okay, nothing happened, all right. If it doesn't have anything, there's no test 1, there's no test 2, it'll give us an error. Like, what were some of the errors we got in Excel, like name error? You remember, Patrick? Yeah, the hashtag div error, value error. So that would be similar to this. Warnings. What are the warning signs for not learning in this class? No, nobody gets that joke. So there's JavaScript warnings. What are they? It's very complex. So did he actually have a book in Python? What about Rosenthal? Does he have a book? No. So most like programming languages textbooks are like this thick. It might have like a CD in the back with like stuff you can download and like work on yourself. JavaScript textbooks are about the same size too. So we've literally just done like 2 weeks of like basic stuff. You could literally teach an entire course on just JavaScript. And maybe I should ask Rosenthal to do that in the spring. Would you take that? No? Yeah. So Patrick would, maybe Damon would, maybe Kyle would. Emily probably would, right? Just to take me again. I am too. So I don't know. That's not my decision. That's Rosenthal's decision. I will as soon as I know. What did I mention about XHTML? That's another thing we do, that little text equals JavaScript stuff. Because browsers are too stupid to know that you screwed up, right? So I'll go to back to my own page to give you an example of this. So when I pull this up on just like a regular, like when I work on this file at home, these little caret drop downs just show up as random boxes. They don't work properly and look normal. When you just open it in a web browser, like on your computer at home, but once you upload it to the server, then they show up and look normal. All right, now we'll get into the nitty gritty, the focus of tonight, because then you're going to work on your JavaScript homework. Robert, what's the first type of JavaScript pop-up? An alert box. It's often used if you want to make sure information comes through to the user. When an alert box pops up, the user will have to click OK to proceed. Give us a website where you've seen a pop-up and nothing like inappropriate. Well, the websites I'm thinking of, they usually have a pop-up and ask you to log in, but obviously we can't discuss them here. Mike's wife immediately knew what I was talking about. Oh, okay. The guys probably know what I'm talking about. Kyle's like, yeah. Any website that has like a pop-up to click OK that isn't inappropriate to show in a classroom. Sports streaming sites, okay. What? MSG Go, okay. Lucas? Yeah, they might have like a lot of the journals. Here's an example. Please show up so I'm not a liar. Of course not. So it might have like a little pop-up down here, like, oh, like that's an example. But usually the pop-up will be like, oh, do you want to accept cookies? But that's another example there. You know, you could say no thanks or decide to take part in their survey. Perfect example. So let's make one. Use your JavaScript WYSIWYG for this one to make sure it works. So what does this do? What is this going to do when I run it? Anybody try it? Mike's wife? It's going to make a box. What does the box do? It opens up our message. When you click try it, it says, I am an alert box. So the try it is a button on click. We created that with the button tag. But it's using my function. We created my function down here. Alert gives us a printout from the screen. I am an alert box. Bless you. Emily, what can I change this to? Instead of I am an alert box. I am in development web applications. It would help if I could spell. I'll do the winky face. It might work. I don't know. No, the winky face did not work. Oh, that would help. That would help. And the winky face did show, but not as an emoji, just as the way I typed it. And we'll add Robert's part. And I am bored out of my mind. So remember to run. What if I want to change what the button says? What do I edit? Button, who's got the button? Nobody knows? Where it says try it, we put something else. Austin, what should the button say? Eagles are 6-0. So then we'll edit the little alert to say, and them cowgirls are 4-2. Just to annoy Nicole. So now what happens when I click Eagles are 6-0, Rob? Yeah. Nicole's gonna hold this against me. Why wouldn't we believe you? Haven't you told them that your professor's nuts? Now, am I better than Billy, Damon, and Kyle? It's not even close. And Robert, you said you preferred this face-to-face than the insanity you dealt with in the spring? Now, how long did it take you to learn that that wasn't me? Billy, how long did it take you to realize that that wasn't me talking? The second week. You didn't know because you didn't have me before, so. This is not a 70-year-old man. What's the second type of pop-up, Kyle? What's the confirm box? Okay. So they're very similar, right? Alert box and confirm box. Dear God, the code is so small. Let's copy and try that one. So what is this going to do? What is this going to do? Give you a button, okay? We know it gives us a button because we created a button that on-clicks. So what's going to happen when we click the try it? My function will run. What'll happen? It's going to give you a pop-up that says press a button. And then what? Everybody sees why that is? Evan, why is that? That's what it told us to do. That's what I told it to do. Yes, but in my code, what two terms did I use to tell it to do that? If, yep. So if something, you pressed OK, otherwise you pressed cancel. So if Emily eats before class tonight, she may not be hungry when class ends, right? Emily, question? You could do it this way. You could do it the other way that I'll teach you in four minutes. That's why we're going over this. There's 4 different ways you could do it. So what do I want to click? Okay or cancel? Cancel? Like you all wish this class was? Now, why does it give us the output of you press cancel? Damon? Because I didn't press OK. We're using our variable text. It prints out whatever it is. So it prints out you press cancel because I click cancel. What if I clicked OK? See? You pressed OK. Now, why does it rewrite it? Bless you. Notice how I clicked OK the second time and you pressed cancel disappeared now? This line of code here, the document.element by ID demo, makes our paragraph whatever the result is. So it spits it out differently every time. What does the .inner HTML part mean? Damon, you want to take this one? Is that rain? The .inner HTML puts the text inside your HTML file. Make sense? Every time I click it and click the opposite, it rewrites it. We're running through the function and spitting out the new element. Mike. The redirect. You could put it within your function. You could put it within your on-click. It would be up to you. I kind of give you a more basic example with the prompt box next. So we saw the prompt box there with the, add the 2 numbers to get, you're finally done, Austin? It died. Does anybody have a plug Austin can use? He did all this homework, all this exam. See if it turns back on in a couple minutes and then email it to me. Nicole is awesome, as you can tell. So what is this prompt box example? What does this one do? As I spit on my screen. It asks to enter my name, but it has Harry Potter in it already. I'm Harry Potter. Why isn't it running? Oh, I didn't click try it yet. Yeah, that Harry Potter fella passed away over the weekend. I literally never saw any of the movies more than like 2 minutes. It's always on like USA Network. when I'm trying to watch SVU repeats. So what happens when I click try it? Harry Potter? What happens if I change that? Are you sure? Everybody heard that, right? So if we put in, instead of Harry Potter, Nico is so bored. And I click OK. It puts that in instead of Harry Potter. Why? Why? The next line. If person equals null, we put Harry Potter. If you actually put a person in, it puts that person in. So let's try it again. Bless you. Billy, did they cancel the Yankee game because of the rain? Delayed? You're not a Yankee fan? How can you be a Yankee fan and not follow baseball closely? The Yankees are in the playoffs. You don't even follow them? You're a what? Hockey started. You checked out like Nicole and her Cowgirls? Hockey starts. You don't care that they're terrible again? Are you a Devils fan like Nicole? Ranger fan? What is Brodeur doing now? Didn't he get hired by St. Louis and they like fired him over something? Yeah, he's like, I thought he was like St. Louis wanted to hire him and like fired him after a week. Mark can't wait to get out of here. Now when I click OK, where does that go? Where it says Nico is so bored. Because again, it rewrites this every time it runs through the function. And again, the .inner HTML puts it in the HTML code. Because it's like Java. If you have a parameter or variable set as something, and you do like var equals 7, and then var plus plus, every time you run it, that var now changes to something else. So with the plus plus, that's an iterator. It'll go up 1 every time you run it. So what about 2 input prompts? Like we just saw with the numbers. So what's this? Ask this for a favorite color, then a second favorite color. And what do these quotes mean here? What's that going to do? Mike's wife, any guess? Okay. It's going to put a blank between the 2 colors. Very good. Phil, color. Green. Okay, that's our first favorite color. Nick, favorite color. Blue. Now what happens when I click OK, Nicole? Green, and then a space, and then blue. If I wanted to make these bigger and make it so that the first one was green, the second one was blue, what would I use, Damon? CSS. Cascading style sheets. Okay, now we'll jump to what Emily wants to do. Get the hell out of here and do the homework. So this is one way you could do the homework. You'd have to modify your on-click if you wanted to do a button to refer to a function. So in my example here, my on-click, my on-click is just basic pop-up that returns the href. If you wanted to make that a button, you make that a button. So what is all of this doing? Take each part one by one. Matt, what does this do? Pop-up window. It opens up, it tells that function, okay, when we click this, you can open the pop-up. What is height, width, left, top, resizable, yes, scroll bar, yes, toolbar, yes, menu bar, no, location, no, directories, no, status, yes. Tell it. Lucas. Yeah. So when I click this, it's going to be 50 from the left, 50 from the right. The height is going to be 30 px. The width will be 70 px. See? It just popped up. Instead of an entire web page, it's just a pop-up that we set the height and width for. So this is your homework. You could use one of the 4 methods I taught you how to just do right now to create one of these. Any kind of pop-up that whether you click the text or the button opens up your courses. So yours would be whatever. Damon, what's yours? D Battagli? Battag D2. So that would be what would pop up when you click it. Whether you make it a button or just text, completely fine with me. I ask you, though, to combine your skills from CSS. So if you want to make it like, make this a P and put style P equals blue or whatever, you would have to put it above this and make it an actual HTML. So you notice this is literally just the script section, right? Script. We haven't made any actual HTML file yet. You could literally just copy this and put it in a .js file, and that would be your external JavaScript. But because you want to create an HTML file, we gotta put the rest of our code in. And it runs and does the same thing, right? Remember, I told you? Regular HTML kind of has an idea of what you're talking about. XHTML, nope, sorry. Billy Madison. Ever see Billy Madison? What's he say to Adam Sandler? It's one of the dumbest. How's the quote go? Yeah, the guy who, my wife is cheating on me or whatever. When they're doing the decathlon. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. May God have mercy on your soul. So you're all going to work on that now, right? And ask me if you have any questions. So again, let's see where it is. Hopefully this shows up and that's not the grades for the other class. Okay, that's the other class. So again, I want you to get in the habit of submitting the file and the link from your courses, and you'll see why. What are we doing next week? Next week, when we do the PHP and forms, because I think I've explained this to you. When you use PHP, you cannot view the source of that file on a web browser. You have to actually have the file. And so if you want to learn more about JavaScript and DOM, I posted some of Billy's PowerPoints there. And down the bottom is where you submit your JavaScript assignment. Any questions? Phil, questions? So this is due Sunday, 11:59. And yeah, so hopefully Melvin Gordon does much better than Cortland Sutton tonight, or else I'm going to lose again in fantasy. Gerald Everett screwed me repeatedly last week by only getting 2 yards. I might have an answer. Are you missing what?
I'm missing something in order to click it and have it go to my website. Because that's the CSS function. that looks-
We don't have any CSS.
This is CSS, that's the whole thing. That's what you were just saying.
That's just a paragraph.
Oh.
CSS is that style P equals blue.